I came home early and found our babysitter asleep on my couch. My husband whispered, "Don't make this gross." Then I saw my daughter's blanket around her shoulders. He defended her before me. So I changed the door code and told my husband to. When I say it like that, I know how it sounds. It sounds like I walked in on one awkward moment, lost my mind, and blew up my marriage over jealousy. That is how Nathan wants people to hear it. That is how his mother repeats it. A misunderstanding. A tired girl. A rainy night. A wife who overreacted. But it did not start with that night. It started with small things I kept swallowing because I did not want to be that wife. The jealous one. The insecure one. The one who turns every friendly conversation into a threat. Zoe came into our lives through our neighbor, Barbara. She had used Zoe a few times and said she was sweet, responsible, and great with kids. At the time, that sounded like a gift. Nathan and I were exhausted. Grace was 7, Lucas was 4, and our evenings felt like a race we kept losing. Dinner, baths, homework, toys everywhere, bedtime arguments, dishes left in the sink, and both of us too tired to be kind by the end of the night. The first time Zoe came over, everything felt easier. Grace liked her right away. Lucas followed her from room to room like she was magic. When I got home, the kids were fed, the living room was mostly clean, and nobody was crying. I remember standing in the kitchen thinking, finally, something simple. Nathan liked her too, and at first, that did not bother me. She helped us. She was polite. She sent updates. She remembered Grace hated crusts on sandwiches and Lucas only ate apples if they were cut into tiny pieces. She seemed thoughtful. Then Nathan started talking about her differently. He said she was mature for her age. He said she had a calm energy. He said she was not like most people in their 20s. None of it was clearly wrong, but there was something soft in his voice that made me pause. I told myself I was being unfair. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was turning nothing into something. The texting was the first thing I could not ignore. I was the one who hired Zoe. I made the schedule. I wrote down bedtime routines, snack rules, and emergency numbers. But little by little, her messages went to Nathan instead of me. If she was running late, she texted him. If Grace had a stomachache, she texted him. If Lucas refused dinner, she texted him. If she wanted to know whether pizza was okay, she texted him. One night I asked, "Why does Zoe always message you now?" Nathan barely looked up from his phone. "I answer faster." That was true enough to make me feel stupid for asking. He did answer faster. I was usually driving, busy, or juggling 10 things at once. Still, I hated the feeling of becoming the second parent in conversations about my own kids. Then she started staying later. The first time I came home and found them watching a movie, the kids were already asleep. Nathan was in the recliner. Zoe was on the couch. The TV was low and the room had that quiet late-night comfort that should have belonged to us, not to my husband and the babysitter. I laughed because I did not know what else to do. "Oh," I said. "I didn't know babysitting came with a movie package now." Zoe's face went red. Nathan rolled his eyes. "We were waiting for you," he said. I looked at the screen. They were halfway through the movie. Zoe grabbed her sweater and said she should go. I thanked her for watching the kids because I was still trying to be polite, even though something in my chest had tightened. After she left, Nathan asked why I had to make it weird. I said, "I came home and found you watching a movie with the babysitter." He said, "She's 20. You're acting like I was on a date." That bothered me because I had not used the word date. He had. I wanted to push harder, but I let it go. That became my bad habit. I let go of the texts. I let go of the movie nights. I let go of the way Zoe knew little things I did not remember telling her, like Nathan's favorite snacks or which side of the couch he liked. I let go of the way she smiled at him first when she walked in, even when I opened the door. I told myself she was young. I told myself Nathan was just friendly. I told myself a tired marriage can make harmless things look suspicious. Then came the night I could not explain away. I was supposed to be gone overnight for a work-related trip. Nothing exciting, just one of those things you attend because you have to. It got canceled late because of weather problems in another city. I could have called Nathan right away, but I was drained and wanted to surprise the kids in the morning. I drove home close to midnight, tired and already thinking about slipping into bed quietly. Then I saw Zoe's car near the curb. At first, I thought Nathan had gotten home late and forgotten to send her home. Then I saw the TV flickering through the blinds. I opened the front door quietly so I would not wake the kids. The house was dark except for the blue glow from the TV. Nathan was asleep in the recliner. Zoe was curled up on my couch with her shoes off, one arm tucked under her cheek, and Grace's purple blanket pulled around her shoulders. That blanket hit me harder than anything else. It was Grace's sick day blanket. The one she dragged around when she had a fever. The one I washed after stomach bugs and bad dreams. Seeing Zoe wrapped in it made my own living room feel unfamiliar, like I had walked into a version of my home where I had been quietly replaced. Nathan woke when the door clicked shut. He looked at me, then at Zoe, then back at me. The first thing on his face was not guilt. It was irritation. "What are you doing home?" he asked. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "This looks bad." Just, "What are you doing home?" I said, "Why is she here?" Zoe stirred and sat up fast. The blanket slid into her lap. She looked embarrassed, but not shocked. That part stayed with me. She looked caught, not confused. Nathan rubbed his face. It was raining. She was tired. I didn't want her driving home. I looked toward the window. It was raining, but not badly. Just steady rain. "So you let our babysitter sleep here while I was gone?" I asked. He lowered his voice. "Don't make this gross. Nothing happened." The way he said it made my stomach turn. Like I was the one dragging something ugly into the room. Like I was supposed to look at another woman asleep under my child's blanket and feel ashamed for noticing. I looked at Zoe and said, "You need to go home." Nathan said my name in a warning tone. I turned to him. "Do not say my name like I'm embarrassing you in my own house." Zoe grabbed her bag. Her hands were shaking, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. She looked so young standing there with messy hair and my daughter's blanket tangled around her legs. Then I remembered she knew I was gone. She knew this was my home. She knew my children were asleep upstairs. She left quietly. Nathan walked her to the door, and somehow that made it worse. When he came back, I was standing in the living room holding Grace's blanket. He said, "You humiliated her." I stared at him. "She slept in my house with my husband while I was gone. On the couch," he said, like that changed everything. "That is not the part that makes it okay." He looked angry, but under the anger was panic. I didn't want her driving tired in the rain. What was I supposed to do? Wake the kids and drive her home? Call a ride? Call me? Call Barbara? Do anything except let her sleep in my living room like she belongs here? He scoffed. "Nobody said she belongs here." I held up the blanket. He looked away. The next morning was worse because he acted normal. Grace hugged me around the waist because she was happy I was home early. Lucas asked if I brought him anything for my trip, and I had to pretend the trip had happened enough to explain why I had no souvenir. I made pancakes because my hands needed something to do. Nathan came downstairs, kissed Lucas on the head, poured coffee, and asked Grace about school like we had not spent midnight arguing over a woman asleep on our couch. That kind of calm can make you doubt yourself. When someone acts normal while you are shaking inside, your pain starts to feel dramatic. After the kids were busy, I asked to see his messages with Zoe. He laughed. Not nervous laughter. A sharp, mean little laugh. "Wow," he said. "So this is what we're doing now?" I said yes. Apparently. He held his phone for a moment before handing it over. Then he stood close behind me while I opened the thread. That told me enough before I read anything. At first, the messages were normal. Scheduling. Kid updates. Pictures of Grace drawing. Lucas holding a toy dinosaur. Questions about snacks and bedtime. I almost felt ashamed for asking. Then I kept scrolling. There were late-night messages. Not one. A pattern. Zoe wrote that our house felt peaceful compared to hers. Nathan told her she was always welcome. She said she liked talking to him because he listened. He told her some people deserve to be heard more than they were. She sent selfies from her car, not explicit, but soft and personal in a way that made my stomach turn. He reacted with hearts. My husband sometimes answered me with "okay" when I told him I was overwhelmed. But he sent hearts to our babysitter because she had a hard day. Then I saw the message that made my hands shake. Zoe wrote, "I feel safe with you." Nathan replied, "Good. You should." I read it twice before I could speak. "What is this?" I asked. He took the phone back. "It's nothing. Do not insult me. She has a difficult home life." I was being supportive. I said, "You are not her father, her therapist, her boyfriend, or her emotional shelter." He flinched at boyfriend. Then he got angry because anger was easier than shame. He told me I was twisting everything. He said I had been distant and tired. He said Zoe was easy to talk to because she did not judge him. That hurt because part of it was true. I had been tired. I had been distant. Our life had turned into bills, schedules, and children needing something every time I sat down. But distance in a marriage does not give someone permission to build a private emotional life with the babysitter. I asked if anything physical happened. He said no so quickly it felt rehearsed. Then he looked offended. I can't believe you would even think that. I wanted to say I could not believe he gave me a reason to. Instead, I went upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom because I did not want the kids to see me cry. For 2 days, we barely spoke. Nathan slept on the couch, which felt bitterly ironic. He acted wounded, like I had violated his privacy by reading messages he should never have needed to hide. When I told him privacy was not the same as secrecy, he said I was trying to make him sound like a villain. Then Susan called. The second she said, "Nathan told me you two had a little fight," I knew he had started damage control. I was folding Grace's pajamas in the laundry room. I remember gripping one of her shirts until the fabric wrinkled in my hand. Susan told me men and women could be friends. She said Nathan had always been kind. She said I should not punish him for helping someone who needed support. Then she said, "You don't want to destroy your family because you're feeling insecure." I stared at the dryer door, where my reflection looked warped and tired. I asked, "Did he tell you she slept on my couch while I was out of town?" There was a pause. Then Susan said, "He said it was raining." That pause told me she knew it sounded bad. I asked if he told her about the hearts, the late-night messages, and Zoe saying she felt safe with him. Susan sighed like I was exhausting her. "Hannah," she said, "marriage means choosing not to make every mistake bigger than it is." I almost laughed because I agreed with the sentence, just not the way she meant it. Marriage does mean you do not make every mistake bigger than it is. But it also means you do not shrink betrayal until it fits inside the word misunderstanding. After I hung up, I sat on the laundry room floor and cried beside a basket of clean clothes. That night, Nathan tried to apologize, but his apology still protected him. He admitted the messages looked inappropriate, then reminded me nothing physical happened. He said he should have had better boundaries, then added that I was acting like he had an affair. I asked him when cheating starts. He stared at me. "What does that even mean?" I said, "Does it start when you touch her or when you hide her from me? Does it start when she says she feels safe with you and you like hearing it? Does it start when you defend her embarrassment before your wife's pain?" He had no answer. The next day, I called Barbara and told her we would not be using Zoe anymore. I kept it simple. I said boundaries had been crossed and I needed another arrangement. Barbara went quiet. Then she said, "I wondered." My stomach dropped. Wondered what? She told me Zoe had mentioned Nathan a few times in ways that felt too familiar. Nothing obvious. Just small comments. Nathan said the kids loved pasta. Nathan thought she should charge more. Nathan told her she was better with kids than people twice her age. I closed my eyes. Barbara apologized and said she should have said something sooner, but she did not want to sound like she was gossiping. I told her it was not her fault. Maybe it wasn't. But I still felt humiliated knowing someone else had noticed what I had spent weeks trying not to see. After that call, I changed the door code. For numbers. A beep. A quiet click. It was such a small sound, but I felt something settle inside me. Then I texted Zoe. "We no longer need childcare. Please do not come to the house. I wish you well, but this arrangement is over." She replied almost immediately. "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I never meant to disrespect your marriage." If. That one word did something to me. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. I wanted to ask if sleeping in my living room while I was gone felt respectful. I wanted to ask if she sent soft little selfies to every married man whose children she watched. I wanted to ask if she felt safe in my house because I had made it safe. But I did not answer. Some messages only exist to pull you into a conversation where the other person can pretend the damage was accidental. I was done helping anyone soften what happened. Nathan found out about the door code when he came home, and it did not work. I watched through the small window as he punched the numbers twice, then looked up at me. When I opened the door, he said, "Are you serious?" "Yes." "You changed the code without telling me?" "Yes." "This is my house too. And those were my boundaries too, but you didn't tell me before crossing them." He stepped inside, angry in that controlled way that used to make me rush to calm him down. "You had no right to fire her alone." I looked at him. "You had no right to make me feel like a guest in my own marriage." He said I was blowing up our childcare because I was jealous. "No," I said. "I'm protecting our home because you forgot how." That was the first time he looked scared. He asked if I wanted a divorce. I told him I did not know what I wanted, but I could not sleep next to him while he was still defending what happened. He reached for my arm, and I stepped back. His face changed. "Hannah, please," he said. "Don't do this. I'm not the one who did this." Then he finally stopped fighting me. He sat on the edge of the couch and covered his face. For the first time, he admitted he liked the attention. He liked feeling needed. He liked that Zoe looked at him like he was wise and safe and important, not just tired and ordinary. He admitted the conversations had crossed lines he should have stopped long before that night. It was the first honest thing he had said. I asked again if anything physical happened. He said no. I still do not know if I believe him. The strange part is, I realized the answer would not fix what was already broken. Even if he never touched her, he had created a private space where I was the outsider. He had let another woman become soft with him inside my home. He had given her pieces of himself he stopped giving me. That night, I packed a bag for him. I did not throw his clothes. I did not scream. I just put shirts, socks, and a charger into a duffel while he sat on the bed watching me like I had become someone he did not recognize. Maybe I had. I told him to stay with his brother Ryan for a while. He asked what we were supposed to tell the kids. I hated that question because he knew it would hurt me. He knew Grace still cried if one of us missed bedtime. He knew Lucas asked every morning if we were all having dinner together. I said, "Tell them you're helping Ryan for a few days. Then we figure out the rest." He looked at the floor. "So you want me to lie to them?" "No, Nathan. I want you to understand that your choices landed in their lives too." He left that night. The house felt hollow after the door closed. Grace asked why Daddy had a bag, and I told her he was staying with her uncle for a little while. She frowned but accepted it in that trusting way children do, which made me feel worse. After the kids went to bed, I sat on the couch. The same couch. I had washed Grace's blanket twice and put it back in her room, but I could still see Zoe there. I could still hear Nathan saying, "Don't make this gross," like I had walked in on kindness instead of betrayal. Olivia came over the next day with coffee and no judgment. She sat at my kitchen table and let me talk until my own words stopped sounding insane. When I showed her the messages, she read them once and set the phone down gently. "That's not nothing," she said. I cried because I did not realize how badly I needed someone to say it. Not that Nathan was evil. Not that I was perfect. Just that it was not nothing. Nathan sent long texts that week. Some sounded sorry. Some sounded defensive. He said he missed me and the kids. He offered counseling. He admitted the messages were wrong, but still circled back to how it never became physical. That was the part one could not get past. He wanted credit for stopping before the line everyone else would recognize. But I was stuck on everything before that line. The secrecy. The comfort. The attention. The way he made me feel unreasonable so he could avoid feeling guilty. A few days later, Susan showed up with muffins like baked goods could soften disrespect. Grace was excited to see her, so I let her come in. Susan acted sweet with the kids, then waited until they were in the other room before turning to me. "Nathan is falling apart," she said. "I'm sorry to hear that. That's your husband." "I know. He made a mistake." "I know. So, what are you going to do? Keep punishing him?" I looked at her and asked, "Did you come here to ask how I'm doing?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. That answer was enough. Then she told me marriage was forgiveness. She said men sometimes needed attention and women sometimes forgot that after becoming mothers. Everything in me went still. I said, "If you came here to tell me your son needed the babysitter's attention because I was busy raising his children, you need to leave." She tried to argue, but I opened the door. After she left, I went upstairs and sat on the bedroom floor until my hands stopped shaking. That was when I understood the part that hurt the most. It was not only what Nathan did. It was how many people expected me to make myself smaller so he would not have to feel the full weight of it. A calmer wife. A kinder wife. A less suspicious wife. A more forgiving wife. I had been all of those. I had swallowed discomfort, laughed off red flags, and gave him the benefit of the doubt until there was nothing left to give. So I stopped. I told Nathan we could talk about counseling only if he wrote down what happened without minimizing it. Not for court. Not to use against him. I needed to see whether he could name the betrayal without hiding behind the fact that it was not physical. He hated it. But 2 days later, he sent it. It was not perfect. There were still excuses around the edges. But he admitted he liked being admired. He admitted he knew the messages crossed a line. He admitted he let Zoe stay because part of him enjoyed being chosen by someone who did not know all his flaws yet. That sentence broke me in a different way. Not because it was cruel. Because it was finally honest. The aftermath has been quiet, which almost makes it harder. Loud disasters tell you what to feel. Quiet ones make you question yourself every morning. Nathan is still with Ryan. He comes over to see the kids, and we keep things calm for them. Grace asks when he is coming home. Lucas thinks Daddy is having sleepovers at his uncle's, and I cannot think about that too much without feeling sick. Zoe has not contacted me again. Barbara told me she stopped babysitting in our neighborhood. I am grateful for that. I do not wish her harm, but I do not want her near my family either. She was young, but young does not erase every choice. Still, Nathan was the married adult in my home. He was the one who owed me loyalty. People keep asking if I am going to forgive him. I do not know. Some days, I miss him so badly it feels physical. I miss the version of him who held Lucas during ear infections and made Grace laugh with awful cartoon voices. I miss Sunday mornings before everything felt suspicious. I miss having another adult in the house who knew where the spare batteries were and how to fix the jammed drawer. Other days, I remember standing in the doorway with rain on my suitcase, looking at a young woman asleep under my daughter's blanket while my husband asked why I was home. And the grief turns cold. I have not filed for divorce. I have not promised reconciliation. For now, that is my calm little victory. I am not rushing to save his comfort, and I am not rushing to destroy my life just to prove a point. I am standing still long enough to hear myself think. Nathan says he wants to come home. I told him home is not just a house with a door code. Home is trust. Home is respect. Home is knowing your husband will not make another woman feel safe while making you feel crazy. He cried when I said that. Maybe those tears mean something. Maybe they don't. What I know is this. The couch is clean now. The blanket is back in my daughter's room. The door code is changed. The house is quieter. And for the first time in months, I do not feel like I am competing for space in my own life. So now I keep asking myself where the line is supposed to be. If nothing physical happened, but my husband gave another woman comfort, secrecy, late-night attention, and a place in my home that should have belonged to our family, am I wrong for making him leave?